Welcome back. History books teach us about great battles and noble causes, but they often skip the really weird stuff. When survival is on the line, people stop playing fair. Today we're looking at war tactics that were less about strategy and more about sheer psychological warfare and animal cruelty. From live animals as weapons to biological terror, prepare to have your understanding of fair fight completely ruined. Number 1, Greek fire. The waterproof weapon. First up, let's talk about Greek fire. This wasn't just some flaming arrow. This was the ancient world's napalm. Invented by the Byzantines, it was their closely guarded secret weapon, and it terrified their enemies, particularly the Arabs. The reason for the terror? This fire couldn't be put out with water. In fact, historians say water often made it worse. Think about that. You're sailing the high seas. An enemy ship hits you with this stuff, and all you have is a bucket of water, which basically acts as a flame enhancer. The chemical formula is still debated. A mix of petroleum, resin, and who knows what else. They would blast it onto enemy ships through special bronze siphon pipes. It was war's original squirt gun, except the liquid inside was liquid hell. Greek fire didn't just sink ships, it broke morale. The sight of an unquenchable flame spreading across the water was enough to make any naval captain turn their vessel around. This mysterious, unstoppable fire kept the Byzantine Empire safe for centuries. Number 2, snake bombs. The original biological warfare. Next, we're going to ancient Carthage, where they perfected the art of the snake bomb. Not a clever name for a sophisticated missile. It was literally a ceramic pot full of live, venomous snakes. This tactic was primarily used in naval battles. As two ships prepared to clash, the Carthaginian crew wouldn't throw spears. They'd throw pots of angry, hissing serpents right onto the deck of the enemy ship. Imagine the scene. You're a Roman soldier, ready to fight, when suddenly your deck is crawling with dozens of furious, frightened snakes. You're now forced to choose between fighting the enemy or fighting the very floor you stand on. Pure chaos. The goal wasn't just to bite people. It was to create instant, uncontrollable panic. A soldier panicking about a snake bite is not a soldier focusing on the battle. It was simple, disgusting, and terrifyingly effective psychological warfare. Number 3, burning oxen, the psychological breakthrough. Our final strategy is both desperate and brilliant. The burning oxen. This master plan comes from the Carthaginian general Hannibal, who was famously stuck behind a mountain pass blocked by Roman forces. Hannibal knew he couldn't fight them head-on, so he ordered his men to gather every oxen and cow they could find. They tied bundles of kindling to the animals' horns, lit them on fire, and drove the terrified, flaming beasts up the mountain away from the main battle. The Roman army saw hundreds of bobbing lights moving away from Hannibal's position in the middle of the night. They thought it was the entire Carthaginian army trying to sneak around them, so the Romans abandoned their post to pursue the flanking move. In reality, they were chasing a herd of panicked cattle. Number 4, bee bombs, nature's terror. All right, if you thought snakes were bad, let's talk about bees. Believe it or not, the bee bomb has been a shockingly common tactic throughout history, dating back to the Romans and even used up to World War I. The idea is simple. You find a very active, very angry beehive, or a nest of wasps, and you throw it. Often they'd be hurled over castle walls, tossed into trenches, or dropped onto the decks of enemy ships. Now, a single bee sting is an annoyance, but a swarm of hundreds trapped in an enclosed space with terrified soldiers? That is a crisis. The goal wasn't to kill by sting. It was to disable, disorient, and create panic. A man swatting bees isn't shooting a bow. During the siege of Kerlaverak in the 14th century, defenders hurled pots of bees at the attackers. Later in Vietnam, the Viet Cong strategically hung hornet nests along jungle paths. They turned the jungle itself into a booby trap. It's a testament to the fact that even the smallest enemy can ruin your entire day. Number 5. The Poisoned Gift, a deadly Trojan horse. Next, let's talk about a strategy that exploits a universal human weakness: greed. This tactic is all about psychological sabotage dressed up as generosity. We call it the poisoned gift. Imagine you've just won a brutal siege. The defeated enemy is retreating, but they leave behind a massive, tempting prize. Vast quantities of expensive wine, food, or sometimes even treasure. Seems like a party, right? Well, the enemy didn't forget it. They poisoned it. This happened most infamously during the Ottoman siege of Rhodes. The Ottomans, upon retreating, left behind supposedly abandoned barrels of wine and food. The unsuspecting defenders indulged. The result? Not an instant battlefield casualty, but a slow, debilitating sickness. Hundreds of soldiers were taken out of action, not by a sword, but by a simple glass of tainted wine. It was a victory achieved not by fighting the army, but by destroying their post-victory celebration. A truly cynical masterpiece of delayed action warfare. Number 6. Breaking beyond the gates, the plague. Catapult. Our last tactic is the most viscerally terrifying, and it set a disturbing precedent for biological warfare. It's the plague catapult, the Middle Ages equivalent of a germ warfare missile. The most famous instance is the Siege of Kaffa in 1346. The Mongol Golden Horde was besieging the Genoese trading port of Kaffa, but then their army started dying, victims of the dreaded Black Death. What do you do with hundreds of corpses riddled with the most contagious disease known to man? If you're a Mongol general, you load them onto a catapult and launch them over the city walls. The plague victims landed inside the city, their bodies contaminating the water and the air. The Genoese defenders, who were safe from the arrows and swords, were now trapped with a biological nightmare. They were forced to flee, carrying the infection, the Black Death, to new ports. They basically catapulted the apocalypse into Europe. This wasn't just war, it was an atrocity that changed the course of world history. Hannibal's real army simply walked right through the abandoned pass and escaped. Hannibal didn't win that fight with swords. He won it with fire, fright, and farm animals. That's genius. It's truly incredible to see how far people will push the boundaries of warfare when victory is the only option. These stories, though brutal, remind us that creativity, even dark creativity, has always been a factor in human conflict. If you found these historical hacks as wild as we did, hit the like button. Which bizarre tactic do you think was the most effective? Let us know in the comments. And for more true stories that feel like fiction, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.